Hello guys, welcome to the tutorial of Android activity. First of all, I'm going to assume that you have never created an Android application before but do have some programming experience. So what I want to show you is what activity is and how it behaves in Android lifecycle. So in this tutorial, we are going to cover following topics. What is an activity? How we declare activities in manifest file, how multiple activities combine to form a complete application, how activity lifecycle works, and how does activities are stored in stack. So let's start with our first topic, that is what is an activity. An activity presents a visual interface for one focused endeavor the user can undertake, which basically means an activity is an application component that provides a screen with which user can interact in order to do something. For example, working with individual activity, like there is a list of menu items and user selects one of them and the result is shown based on the selection. Another example could be sequence of activities. A user is doing a single task in sequence of activities. For example, one activity allowing user to select context for sending a message and another to compose that message, and then there is a third one asking a final confirmation for sending that message to the selected contexts. So this could be the example of activity. User interaction takes place here. Visual content of the window is provided by a hierarchy of views where each view controls particular rectangular space within the window. Parent views contains and organize the layout of their children, where views are where the activity's interaction with the user takes place. For example, a view might display a small image or a button and initiate an action when the user taps the image or button. The example could be, this is a simple screen or a simple activity which has certain views like username, password, remember me, forget password, login. These are different views which are creating a view hierarchy for this activity. Moving on. How visual content is presented. Each activity is given a default window to draw. Typically the window follows the screen. How visual content is presented. Each activity is given default window to draw. So basically every activity gets some space to draw its view hierarchies. Typically the window fills the screen, but it might be smaller than a screen and float on top of other windows. That means an activity could be a full screen size or it could be a small size, like for opening a small activity over the parent activity to select some items and then providing the output to the previous screen who has called that screen to appear. A view hierarchy is placed within an activity window by the activity.setContentView method. So this is the main method of activity through which we set the content that what user is going to see in this activity. Moving on to our next topic, activities and application. Application is made up of with activities. An application may consist of single activity or multiple activities. It depends upon the requirement. But there is a common thing in every application, that one activity is marked as default, which starts when the application is launched. So this behavior is marked in the manifest file, which activity is going to be the default activity which is going to be launched when the application starts. How an activity start another. An activity is started in two ways. First, by calling start activity and then passing an intent to it. This method is used when the activity which is starting it do not expect any result from it. Another way is start activity for result and passing intent to it. This method is used when starting an activity expect some result from the started activity. Example will be, while changing profile image, we have a profile view activity where image is shown with lot of more information. When we tap on the image icon, it launches the camera in another activity, and then After capturing image, it reverts back the path of that image to the calling activity. So this could be the example. Moving on to our next topic, that is declaration of activity in the manifest file. Every activity that you have created in your application, they must be defined in your manifest file. Otherwise, activity not found error will occur. Under the activity tag, you will have to write the name of your activity along with the package name where it is placed. Then write the label that it could be your name of application, and then you have to write that which theme is going to be used by that activity. There are a lot of themes under style section in Android. You can use any of them as per your requirement. Moving on to our next topic, activity lifecycle. An activity has three states: active state, paused state, and third, stopped state. In active state, activity is in foreground. It has focus for user's actions. In paused state, activity loses its focus, maybe some transparent activities lying on top of it. But activity remains alive. It may be killed if system is running low on memory. And third, stopped state. Activity is completely obscured by other activity, but it still retains all the states and member info. State transition callback methods. As an activity transitions from one state to another, it is notified of the changes by calls to the following protected methods: on create, on start, on restart, on resume, on pause, on stop, on destroy. An activity must implement the onCreate method to do the initial setups when the object is first instantiated. The onCreate method. This is the basic method which must be override in every activity. This is where you should do all your normal static setup. Create your views, bind your data to the list, and do so on. This method is passed a bundle object containing the activity's previous state if the state was captured, always followed by onStart. Lifecycle lifetime. Entire lifetime between the first call to onCreate through a single final call to onDestroy. Visible lifetime between a call to onStart until corresponding call to onStop. This is the visible lifetime of an activity. And foreground lifetime is between the call to onResume and until corresponding call to onPause. Moving on, this is the diagram of activity lifecycle, where square rectangles represent callback methods you can implement to perform operations when the activity moves between states. Whenever an activity is launched, onCreate method is called, where we do our initial setups like instantiating views and all. Then it is followed by onStart and onResume methods. Once onResume is called, the activity enters to the running state. As soon as a new activity comes over it, it enters to onPause state and again retains onResume state when the overlying activity is gone. When the activity is finished, it undergoes with onStop and onDestroy methods. This is how all the lifecycle methods are called in activity. Moving on to our last topic, activity stack. Activities in the system are managed using activity stack. It is typical that user will be switching activities while using mobile devices. Example scenario would be a user is reading his emails and then a phone call comes in. The user takes the call. Here activity switching occurs, and when the phone conversation is done, the email activity reopens. Here again the activity switching occurs. So in this way activity switching works. When a new activity is started, it is placed on top of the stack and becomes the running activity. The previous activity always remains below in the stack and will not come into the foreground until the new activity exits. So this is how activity is managed in activity stack. So this is it. We are done with the activity tutorial. Do let me know your views in comments. Thank you and bye bye.